RocSports back with another video. Okay, if you watched my last video, that was a quick 1-minute video. That was the reaction to Errol Spence injury. I was very upset, emotional, and I picked Pacquiao on the spot right then and there. Said it wasn't gonna be no prediction video. I picked Pacquiao. So first thing first, I was wrong. I was shocked. Let me give a congrats to Ugas, because that was a huge win. I thought it was a clear win for Pacquiao, for sure. For Ugas. I thought he was able to do whatever it is that he wanted to do in the ring. And honestly, I feel like the success that Pacquiao had in the fight, I thought, in my opinion, I just think that a lot of that was what Ugas wasn't doing, opposed to what Pacquiao was doing, you know? Like, he took his foot off the gas a little bit with the jab in a couple of those middle rounds, and Pacquiao had some success. But when Ugas was active, he was very accurate all night long. But when he was active and throwing punches, Pacquiao couldn't take it, man. He couldn't hit him, and Ugas was able to hit him whenever he wanted to. Pacquiao threw punches, but Ugas, man, his ring generalship Saturday night was great. He had Pacquiao frustrated multiple times too. Nobody want to talk about that, but he definitely had Pacquiao frustrated. He had an answer for everything that he was coming with, whether it was offensively and defensively. Pacquiao was pretty much walked down the whole fight. If he wasn't being walked down, then it was in the center of the ring. And both parts of the fight, he lost. He had his moments, but he lost, man. He definitely looked like an aged fighter now. And I'm going to just say it right now. If Errol Spence was in the ring, Pacquiao would have been stopped. My prediction would have been right. So the Pacquiao fans should be thanking the injury guys that Errol Spence was hurt, because it would have really been bad. As well as for if Terrence Crawford was in there. So as you can tell by the title, though, I got Pacquiao Spence Aftermath. So quick final touches on that. I definitely still want to give Pacquiao his respect, because that is a legend. He's an icon. He's an all-time great. Everything that I said in my previous video still stands, obviously. But I'm not about to let Pacquiao get away with the excuses of he just came out just now and said Ugas is pretty much basic, and he only has one style, and he should have been able to beat him easy. Basically, that's what Pacquiao said. That's BS. But he said his legs were tight, or whatever. If anybody that doesn't deserve that excuse in terms of talking about a fighter as basic and, you know, he's my easiest opponent, blah blah blah, it's Pacquiao. We don't want to hear that. You at age 42, you talking about your legs tight. You knew what this represent with you stepping in the ring at 42. Give Ugas his credit. That was his night. He was the better man. He won the fight. But now it's time to get into what does this win means for Ugas and for the rest of the welterweight division. Again, last thing, congrats to Ugas, man. That was tremendous what you pulled off. You had a great game plan and you stuck to it. Congrats to you. So let's get into this, man. So this win shakes up the whole division for me, because factoring in Errol's injury, you have no idea what the next fighter is going to do in this division, what each fighter is going to do in this division. Let's be honest. We can say as fans what we want to see, but as we know, we've been knowing that for years, that's not going to happen. You know what I mean? It's not that easy. So, yeah, we want Terrence Crawford and Shawn Porter. Hopefully that can still happen later this year. But we want Boots Ennis to get his shot. We want Virgil Ortiz to keep climbing up the ranks, right? And obviously we want Terrence Crawford and Errol Spence. But being realistic, man, the timetable of looking at things now, I just don't know how the division is going to shake out. So we got Keith Thurman. Well, let's scratch that. We got Shawn Porter, who's he needs no introduction if you watch welterweight boxing. None of these dudes do. So we have Shawn Porter, Keith Thurman. I know a lot of people don't like Keith, but we have to include Keith. Keith is still a player in here. We have Keith Thurman. We have Terrence Crawford. And then we got the two young guns that's ready for just hungry for their shot, and Yordenis, who I think is special, and Virgil Ortiz, who I think is really, really good. And then obviously we still have, in my opinion, the king of this division, Big Fish, Errol Spence. And he's still the king of this division because he has 2 belts. So essentially all the glory for this division runs through him. Because he have the 2 belts, that's what I mean by that. So say Errol, nobody know when Errol's coming back because of this injury. And when he comes back, who's to say? Now, yeah, he did it with Danny Garcia, but who's to say that he wants a Ugas, Terrence, or Sean, or Keith, or whoever else when he first comes back with the eye injury? So that's why I think the road still leads down his, so to say. I don't see PBC letting Ugas going to fight Terrence Crawford. Just for the simple fact, if he loses, that's a belt that's outside their stable. You know what I mean? That's more leverage for Terrence Crawford when we talking him and Errol Spence. Now, yeah, we don't want to hear that as fans, but it should just be next in line. Let's just, line it up. But it is what it is. So I don't see that. So what does that leave Ugas? Ugas is probably going to fight Keith Thurman in the meantime. He shouldn't just sit on the shelf and wait for Errol Spence because you just don't know. So he should fight Keith Thurman. Unless Ugas fights Manny Pacquiao again, which, I mean, to me, it's like, it is what it is. Pacquiao should just retire. But some news just came out saying that Pacquiao is going, pretty much forego his running in the Philippines or whatever for president next year, and he wants to fight Ugas again for the rematch in January. So depending on how that fight go, but again, I think, and this is not a knock to Ugas. Ugas is still he's a great fighter. He's a really good fighter. But I think Terrence Crawford and Errol Spence beat both Pacquiao and Ugas. And so regardless of where that belt goes between the two, I think whoever between Terrence and Errol gets the win of that belt, I think that's they will walk away with that belt. So in my opinion, I think just reading off recent history, PBC is going to keep that in-house. So I would say Errol's going to wind up with that 3rd belt, which is leaving him and Terrence Crawford again, which is ultimately what we want to see. But, man, this injury and this win shakes up the whole division for me. And I just don't know how it's going. Boxing has already been shaky this whole year. But we just got to get these fights made. Again, we need Terrence and Sean Porter. And Boots Ennis and Virgil Ortiz, man, I don't know who's going to fight them because it's already hard for Jerron Ennis to get fights now. So, again, say Pacquiao do fight Ugas again, then put Keith Thurman in there with Boots Ennis. Keith Thurman needs a fight. What's the point of him fighting a fighter like Josecito Lopez again? You know what I mean? That's only going to do wrong for his career rather than for him gaining something other than him being active. But I just think that if Keith Thurman's not fighting a belt holder, he should be fighting a young contender because he's not that fighter that he still think he was in terms of his cachet. He don't have that cachet to just sit back and only want champions no more, in my opinion. I just want to touch on the current state of the welterweight division after this transpired this past weekend. I think that the division as a whole is in a transition now. Over the next 6 months to a year, it's going to be very interesting to see how these fighters are moved. But that's it, man. I'm out. I'm checking out. Stay tuned for my next video. All of my boxing, NFL, and NBA fans, like, share, and subscribe, man. Keep coming back. I'm going to be dropping more content.